Greetings and welcome. I'm PsychicMediumRoberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. I'm guided and led by Spirit in all aspects of my life. Trigger warning: the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. And unfortunately, we are going to be looking at crime events involving children. Disclaimer: all cases, names, people are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. All numbers used in this case or cases pertain to the case context specifically and may not bear direct resemblance to the numbers you may have in your date of birth. Welcome to Intuitive Sundays, episode 19. Remember that old song? The old Vietnam song, 19. I've just been shown, because I was quickly scrambling, what can I talk about the number 19 in reference to today's episode? 1910-1. I'm going to write it out here, because I have a 1910-1 in my +3, being in the entertainment industry. Now, if you noticed on my community posts this week, we had our movie launch, our film launch, with these amazing group of people. Of course, when you bring 200 people together, we bring 200 personalities together. And if you look on the right here, it's quite funny. If you know, you know. Not the Hollywood, you know. Let me explain something about this picture. I'm going to go to this slide here. So this is from the evening, right? And I'll go back to this picture here. So in this picture, of course, we don't have everyone. It's mainly cast. And Notlanta here in the middle is our lovely director. And for whatever reason, as the producer, me on the right, we both wore black. No one else wore black as far as I understand. Well, Nabita had, but if you look at the top tier, as it were, it was just serendipitous. Noni, this was her first feature film. And she has done a remarkable, fantastic job. And we actually go way back, me and Noni. I first met her around 2006, 2007, maybe a little bit earlier. We happened to work at the same company. And we actually, the first time we met, we actually worked on the same show, which was an African show. We were producing, she was a content producer, I was a producer at the time, but we were producing live talk shows, daily live talk shows, African content, And of course, as her career developed, she went on to, I almost want to say, was one of at least the top tier pioneers in the country for reality TV directing. And creating real reality TV, not the popcorn that we often see, scripted reality. And in many ways, she is the reality queen in the country. She's done many directing reality TV shows, documentaries. She's definitely no slouch, and a genius, a creative genius. And of course, the task of, as a woman, as she says in her interviews, to direct a feature film effectively called I Am King, very masculine. And we found it fitting, particularly me, that we have a female director, because in African culture and history, there is the need for balance, male and female. And fitting that originally the script was obviously very male heavy, and when she came on board, I tell you, it is so beautiful to see strong female performances coming through. We really got really amazing cast, and she did a fantastic job. Now, the reason why I was laughing, and we'll get to the 19 in a minute because it's going to be very significant here, in that the gentleman here in the African attire, Joshua Maponga, he's very famous in Africa, well known, very well known. He's if you want to ever get a voice that can speak about Africa and the needs of Africa, then Joshua Maponga is that man. And ironically, we also go back to about 2007, where I noticed a show that he was on. I mean, this man is arguably the most powerful speaker at his best. When he's at his best, he is the most profound speaker, and originally hails from Zimbabwe, which is within the Southern Africa. It's just above South Africa. I noticed him on a show, and because I was producing several shows at the time, I used to bring him onto my shows, because if I ever wanted to spike audience viewership, Mr. Joshua Maponga, Tate Joshua Maponga would be the one to spike my viewership ratings. And without fail, he would always do it. The reason why this picture is so funny, because as creative as we all are, Joshua was part of the core team. Of course, here we have in the middle here, Adele, who's our executive producer, and her husband here on the left, Mr. Rango, is the executive producer. And of course, when we have a collective of, I mean, we're talking super brains here. And, you know, particularly when you put Nonnie in the mix, and that's why I feel when Nonnie, the director, was given to me in spirit, because for about 4 months, I didn't know who was going to direct this picture. And Spirit said, just leave it, because at that stage we were still developing the framework. So we'd worked on the framework of the story. And nearing the end, Nonhlanhla's name came to me on the right-hand side while I was writing, like a billboard, Nonhlanhla. And at the time, I had a short list. I promise you there was only about 3 names that I had on my list of potential directors. But they just didn't feel right. And admittedly, they were all 3 males, admittedly. But still, I didn't feel it was right. The directors were class of their own anyway. But when we're dealing with, now this is where the 1910-1 comes in, because 1910-1, in the positive, the 9 is an idea. And it was Mr. Rango and Mrs. Rango that said, we need to start working on Africa. We need to start shaping the consciousness. We need to unshackle pre-colonial structures that still exist in Africa, and very much so in South Africa. And in fact, one of our key locations is called the Rand Club. And if you're a local and you know the Rand Club, the interior of the Rand Club it looks like the 1800s inside there. At some point I'll show photos or show you a trailer. And this is what we're saying, is that when the ANC government, when the African government took over in 1994, they didn't come in with African systems, but inherited colonial structures and continue operating within these colonial structures. And it doesn't work for African people. And this movie addresses that issue. All our storyline, we're dealing with the president, we're dealing with ministers, and we're dealing with the rot that exists when the key focus in this one is Big Pharma is again influencing politics, influencing what happens to citizens. And we address all of these issues in the film. So we've got a 19, which is an inception number. We're saying the idea is African people who have worked with their African systems for centuries, of course. But because the way society and the world has been shaped, somehow we all got to fit into whoever created this bullshit in the first place, right? Systems and structures. This is what I would say. Until proven in a court of law. Well, who created the law systems? It was the Romans. It was the colonialists. So this movie, this gentleman here with the green top on, Sasanda Henna, plays our lead, Ikemba, who goes through this journey of realizing what he is doing, because he's leading this whole big pharma structure. And only over time, and again, we bring in, and this is the main aspect here, is this movie is narrated by Spirit. Spirit takes us on a journey through this movie. It starts with Spirit speaking. It starts with Spirit gliding. So of course we use drones and so on. And it's an attempt, at least the first one, we dropping the pebble in this big ocean that, like the main character in Kemba, it's almost remembering. It's a reawakening of the strength of African spirituality that must supersede it doesn't matter what country, any colonial structure, imperialistic structure, the neo-colonialists that still persist today. And through all of this, the character goes on this journey. And I must just say, I was actually last night, and this is part of the reason why, unfortunately, the frequency of videos is going to be less over time for the next at least 3 to 5 months, because we are now at the completion phase. And I'm re-engaged. I'll be full-time. The next 3 to 5 months is where we are going to put the cherry on the top of this film, and we're going to get it out there. What we would refer as a soft launch that we had on Wednesday, I can tell you now, we had a full auditorium, which was already a first prize, so well done for the team that organized that. I don't know, it's definitely not Rent-A-Crowd. We recognized everyone, but what a beautiful audience. And the most important thing was their reaction during the movie. And even after the movie, we had the best audience reaction we could have ever asked for our film. Now, as the top tier, the 5 of us, we're just going to do light panel beating, light bit of work, a little bit of reshaping, that when she is ready, which is going to be in 3 months' time, official launch, we are going to kick ass. And I tell you, what a beautiful film we have. And it is absolutely worth spending the next 3 months making sure that when we present officially, we're hoping to get into the Berlin Film Berlin Film Festival. And the reason why the conference came out is we focus on, there's historical elements within the film, almost documentary style, let's say, that deals with one aspect, the Berlin conference that took place in I must just double check the dates, but early 1900s. That all the Europeans during the Berlin conference, you can research it, decided how they were going to divide Africa. The only reason why there are 52 countries in Africa, and not supposed just one Africa, is because out of that Berlin conference, like Leopold the Brute took the Congo. England took many countries, as we know. Germany took a lot of countries. Everyone got involved. Italy even took 2 countries. So we have a group of savage barbarians, which is displayed in the movie. It's quite a gross scene, because out of that dividing of countries came a lot of bloodshed, massive impact on African consciousness. And these are the strongholds that we as a collective, and in particular, Mr. Rango, Mrs. Rango, and Tata Maponga, beg your pardon, have this mission. And I've been working on African content since 2005. And that is where I met initially Mr. Joshua Maponga, who at the time was doing a PR run on his book that he had just released, So You Want to Be a Master. I mean, this guy's got several degrees. He is an absolute genius. Let him talk for 2 hours and you will be stunned with what he has to say. And of course, this picture here, I tell you, it's not exactly a great picture of me, but here we are as the actors, the producer, the director, having our moment in the sun, as it were, been on stage and been asked questions after the viewing of the movie. And I tell you, what a movie it has turned out. The birth is slightly tickling everyone, let's just say. But let me tell you, we have an amazing product here that we can't wait to absolutely share with the world. And just to conclude, and then we'll move on, me and Joshua here, me and Joshua bumped heads. You can imagine between the 5 of us, right? So the 3 EPs, there's 3 executive producers and the director and myself. We went through months and months. There's probably about 10 versions of the story. But at the end, it was all constructive. It was, everyone had their say. And, me and Joshua go way back. And of course, we can throw whatever at each other and we'll just throw it back at each other. It's just a lovely relationship. And so we're going to be panel beating for the next 3 months, light panel beating, just to get it really cinematic shape. Just final touches. It's really just putting the icing on what is already a beautiful picture. We're going to put the icing on. We're going to put the cherries on top. We're going to give it that good sprinkle and present it as our official movie for selection for the Berlin Film Festival, which is fitting because it's actually in Berlin where the strife of the African consciousness and the people began, ironically. And we are guided in spirit in this program and this project together. And we have overcome so much already, I can tell you. This is year 3 on the project, and we're almost there. It's almost done, and everyone is absolutely blessed. And I love this picture as well. Mr. Rango has always dreamt of making movies, and being an astute businessman that he is, we can only give him the best that we have learned over the years in order for him to succeed and achieve his dream. And Mr. Maponga, the catalyst amongst us, one could say, that always keeps us on our toes, right? So that's where we are in the world. And so just to say also thank you everyone on the channel. Your participation and excitement and your responses on the post that I've done recently over the past week is just really fantastic. This movie deserves my attention. It's going to need my 100% attention. I will leave a segue and say perhaps there's an intuitive Sunday every Sunday, but certainly during the week, it's 100%. I was already sending new schedules, local time, Saturday morning, 2 a.m., to the director. So we're just going to go into a little bit of panel beating mode. It's really just to put on the frills, put on the spills, put on the cream, put on the cherries, and let's get it out there for good. And we will do whatever it takes to make this film successful and reach as many people around the world. So I've just been told we're going to keep it local for the time being. If you aren't aware of the case around Joslin, and I'll put a ident to her reading here, there's so much coming out of the court case, the latest being, and of course I'm recording this March 16, It's now going on 10 to 9 a.m. I just finished watching the Australian Grand Prix. Raining in Australia, is it? Now the latest is saying, or the mom, I haven't watched the actual direct court stuff, to be honest. But of course, I had one community member, or anyway, came and threw mud at me. There's versions where the mom is saying it's Sangoma, because there are three possible ulterior situations that happened here. First of all, Joslin goes missing. And on the day she goes missing, her mom is taking drugs and drinking alcohol, while community members are searching for her. So there's speculation. Initially, the initial thing was she sold her to a Sangoma for Muti. That is one theory. The other theory is now we're hearing she sold her daughter for drugs. The other theory is she was taken out of this country, South Africa, and trafficked. Me not to shy away from any controversy, and people are more than welcome to fling mud, but allow me to retort. The day the announcement came out that her mom sold her for drugs, we find a 17-8 in the day. Okay. Now, let me just check something at 10. So we have a 16-7, 17-8, 18-9 outcome for those three 72-hour scan when Joslin's mom allegedly says, no, I didn't sell it to a Sangoma. No, I didn't traffic her overseas. I gave her for drugs. Which ironically, if we look at the scan for when, because it happened this week, I believe around about Wednesday or Thursday. Now, if we just look at what the mom said this week, and we look now here, what the mom said is these 3 days here, back in 2024, but she said it this week. You see here, this 19-10-1, transactional, sold. The day that Joslin goes or announced missing starts with a 19-10-1. The mudslinger on the community, her direct words, what I said in my reading is utter bullshit. Yeah, on the day of the disappearance, we have a hidden 21-3. Now, if you don't think abduction means, so are we saying, according to the community member, you're saying when a mom hands over the kid, even if it's for drugs or for trafficking or for whatever, are you telling me the kid is going willingly? No, she wasn't abducted. Okay, so she went willingly. A 6-year-old, thank you, mommy, for selling me for 20 Rand. I'm going to go freely so you can have your drugs. Come on, get a life. Hidden 21-3 is someone being forced to do something. It also represents abduction. It represents being taken against your will. Are you telling me bullshit slinger that a 6-year-old is going to go willingly to a stranger. Get a life. So let's presume for a moment if she was handed over or sold for tuk. Now tuk, I've been thinking how to explain it for our international viewers. Tuk is the cheapest, almost the cheapest lethal, addictive, lethal drug. Very prominent in the Western Cape, where Joslin originates from. Tuk, the closest comparison I can say is crack cocaine. Sorry for triggering anyone. People, the tuk situation, we covered this in my talk shows that I did. Tuk is so bad that this is just one random example, right? Tuk, the effects and physiological effects of tuk, TRK, is so bad that people with teenagers and children, even adults, were so desperate for tuk they would go into people's houses and would even steal plastic plates to sell them to get tuk. That's how bad this drug is. It's like the worst. It's even like we can maybe compare it to the fentanyl crisis in the US at the moment. That it's so bad. So hidden 21.3, someone, it indicates female 3 is a 3 because clearly she went willingly. So there's a female that's been held against her will. No, she was sold for tuk. Come on, get a life. Followed by 29.11.2. Here's a big transactional number. So if let's say, for example, and I'm looking for the numbers here, I don't see drugs here, but I'm just saying, and I've got a theory, but what I'm just getting to first, there's a big transactional number here. The outcome is an 11.2, big transactional number. The next day, and now we look at this 20 outcome 2, there's water here. What happened to her after she was sold, whether it was for tuk, 20,000 Rand, 5 Rand? Did you think past that question? There is a 6-year-old girl missing. And by all indications, big transactional numbers here, lots of water around her, 20 outcome 2 hidden. So here's a good example, right? Transactional, 2 days before she goes missing. Business, hidden water. Oh, why is there hidden water? Oh no, she went willingly. 21.3, hidden in the same line, 22.4. There's a vessel. In a previous podcast, I've been monitoring, since I did this first episode of her, because I've been trying to see psychically, where is she or what happened? So if you think handing her over, whether it was for tuk or money or whatever it was, is not abduction or taken against your will, then I believe you may have had a different ulterior motive in leaving the comment that I'm bullshit. There's a 6-year-old gone missing. That is bullshit. This week we have the release of the Delphi murder video. Oh, I beg your pardon. Let's just go back to Joslin here, because when the mom allegedly says she sells the daughter for drugs, right? We have a 17-8 outcome. Now, I don't have the map here, but why would there be a 17-8 outcome when you're giving the truth? 17-8 is not necessarily, or let's say, a 17-8 implies a cover-up. So is Joslin's mom, who's going to get a severe sentence here, but was there some kind of deal or leniency? Because why would there be a cover-up? Is it because they don't want people go snooping around the ports there in Saldanha Bay? What is happening in that port? There is trading, there's illegal trading going on in that port. So now why all of a sudden is the mom saying it was Sangoma? No, someone abducted her. No, now it's she sold her for tik. Lots of bullshit in the air. Cover up 17-8. Why don't they want us to go look at the ports? Why don't they want us to look at Saldanha Port? What is going on in that port that people are benefiting while children are dying? That is bullshit. All right, I've had my vent. So 1910, geez, we just want to help kids. We just want to find the truth. What did you do that shed light on the case, by the way? What has your contributions been? Commenting on other people trying to find her help. That is bullshit. $19.10.1, the conception number, getting an idea into the market. We want people to break their shackles. If you want to do readings yourself, please start your channel, and then so we can watch your investigation into crimes. The bullshitter. All right, enough. All right, so here we got Abby and Libby. Release of the footage this week. And I must say, originally, the initial impression that I received, I mean, imagine if that was the case. Here's these two girls, and we see this man walking along the bridge. Now we know there is no escape there. In other words, that is the end of the path if you know the geography of the location. There's something wrong with that video, in my opinion. Just my opinion. So the initial responses, as a normal human being, I feel fear for the girls, right? Because knowing the outcome we know, and the only real outcome we know, is 2 girls were murdered. As we know. Now, we're seeing this video of the so-called perpetrator walking, not as far as originally thought, but right there. So then I went into producer mode, editor mode. There's a timing issue on that video. Now, what I mean by that, looking initially at the video, there's a shadow issue as well, by the way. I've just been reminded. Anyway, he's walking up behind them, right? Then we get the way Libby turns the camera allegedly to the right. And then we see Abby run past, right? From that moment, based on the long shot, in other words, over shoulder Abigail, and we see this guy walking up, we can gauge a timing, if you like. So in other words, if she runs past the camera, it should be X amount of seconds based on the original. If you see what his pace is, there's a timing issue there, first of all. There's something wrong with the video. Now, when that came out, I've been obviously looking at, and I'm just looking at their charts again. Because something has been pinging me about February the 12th. There's something wrong. Okay, let me explain myself. When the video and audio evidence first came out, you'll recall, right? Down the hill, guys, down the hill. Guys, down the hill. That, you know? If people are able to manipulate the phone, manipulate audio, manipulate video, in this day and age, and even back in 2017 already, the technology exists to manipulate, alter video, audio material. What's always bugged me, that the night before, according to, and I haven't refreshed court documents, but based on my memory, Abigail goes to Libby's place the night before, isn't it? Am I right or wrong on that? Now, all right, give me 1 second. I want to just fix this border. Just one constructive comment I want to make about the community member saying bullshit. There was another community member at the same time that said, hey, it could have possibly been this. I can accept that kind of criticism. Roberto, you said this. Please have a look. Does this? What is going on here? Yeah. I will jump in. I will be the first person to say there's a problem with my reading. But if you're going to shoot out crude, rude comments without being constructive or even offer your suggestion, brain box, then it's a different reaction. We all adults here. If you want to behave like an animal, then you've got a lot of work to do with yourself. All right, so let's just see here. You see this February 13. So what's bugging me, if we look at February 12, right? And we look at the +3 of February 12, which will become the 15. In the intention, so the outcome the night before, the intention, 27-9-18-9-9. In my opinion, that's quite dramatic numbers. Now, let me explain myself. If you have a 27-9-18-9 in the context that we are finding ourselves, in the intention of the night before, there's a double homicide here. 27-9 is the +3 of the night before. Because what's bugging me is February 13, this case hasn't stopped being on my mind since I covered it. Look at the start of the day, 13-4. Children or death. So the night before, we've got, there's something has gone down here. In the action, which would be the 18th, so it would be this one here, right? Let me highlight it here. You can criticize me all you want. Be constructive. February 18. So this now would be, okay, let me get my ducks in a row. The 18th, now we're dealing with the +6 here, right? +6 of the night before. Something's been bugging me about this case. And like I said, this case has a 10-1 issue. It's a bigger community. It even brings in big money. It brings in government. It brings in officials. It can even be, it definitely also brings in and can be crooked cops. The night before the alleged bridge encounter, right? There's a 30 outcome 3 outburst by a woman. 22-4, I beg your pardon, that's the next day, I beg your pardon. 21-3. Who's been held against their will? Who has been forced to do something? A 6-year-old free wills goes with someone else. Come on, get a life. The outcome is a feminine impact. So why is there's very dodged numbers around them the night before? Then we have a 21-3. Now look how my heart stops here. My heart stopped. The +6 of the night before the alleged missing, right? Look what we have in the same position. Now let me just get a block here. So we first looked at this night before. It's a bigger group, bigger family, very familiar, large grouping, familiar. There, the night before in the real. In the +3, so when everything seems hunky-dory and familiar, the intention is a 27-9-18-9-9. Now let me give you the positive aspect. If Abby and Libby the night before went to a rehearsal evening for the band, then I would say they are musicians performing, rehearsing the night before. But that's the positive aspect. These are very creative numbers here. But because we know, unfortunately, 2 young girls are going to die, or they're going to be discovered on February 14th having passed. The night before the alleged day they go missing, there's treachery in the air by a big, large, familiar group. That when we get into the +6, one can say, and I've just been reminded, the 30 outcome 3 is some kind of celebration. Is a party. So we'll just go back a bit. All right, so it's a group of friends known to each other, family even, that are having a party, a big party. The turnaround, so in other words, when we look at the +6, because we go one step over, which would be February 19, here's a 10-1, 10-1 conflict. Who has been held against their will? 21-3. Is that video in its totality real? I'm being honest. Is the so-called video that Libby was recording real. Now, when we get into the +9, all is revealed. This is the night before they decide to go allegedly to the bridge. And what do we have here? There's supposed to be a 24/6 here as well. Oh, so now we're getting all the numbers in play. You recall the night before, there's 24/6 group familiar people. But what the heck is this number doing here? What happened the night before? 33/6. I'll say it again. There is something wrong in Delphi. There is something wrong in this town. Interesting. Now, if we look at the optic of it's Libby recording Abby on the bridge. Okay. Yeah, here's a number, and I don't mean to be facetious, but I'm seeing this also for the first time. 16/7 in the industry is making a movie. 16/7 is making a movie. The 15/6 is a forgery. Here's the script. Story, 13/4 story. There's something wrong in Delphi. I even questioned if you watch in real time, and when I was doing these shows, and I'm just checking again, I've said over and over again, there's no 40 with an outcome 4. 40 outcome 4, which would indicate that it's the guy that's in jail was present, because, and I would have put a tag to the video if you want to watch, but in one of the last videos I did on them, when we see the perpetrator or alleged perpetrator who was convicted in court about to hear his sentencing, for the first time we see the 40 outcome 4. Whereas in this sequence of events, whether it's the night before, on the day, or the day after, so I would say, well, I made the 72-hour from the day they registered missing, but the same can apply for the day before. I'm not saying they were missing the day before, but it forms part of the 72-hour scan. That when I did my original reading, one of the original readings, I said once this was done, then there was a further, some kind of sacrifice or ritual that happened post the event as well. But if we had to shift the 72-hour, beg your pardon, I'm just trying to do it while I'm talking as well. So if we shift the 72-hour scan, it makes a difference, because it's saying that the ritual happened the night before. The people that are involved with this crime are larger grouping. One could use the word family. One could use the word familiar. And there's also pigs around, males, with ulterior motives when it deals with children and sex. there is a monster lurking in this town. And if we want to expand the net, there are monsters who call themselves judges, policemen, community members, all part of what. I was sent a video at the time of doing this video, at the time of doing these videos, by an astrologer, or rather, let me say, about an astrologer who was also into astronomy. And he was able to pinpoint, fine-tune his charts to the location where they found the two girls, in line with some kind of ritualistic moon, what. I've never delved into the dark side, thank God, never will. And for sensitive viewers, what I'm going to say now, and protection and lights over the reading, his chart, based on some other location somewhere in the US, and the moon in this position, where the girls were allegedly found, formed a perfect pentagram, a devil marking. Rebuke the devil. Now I'll ask the question again. If we shift the 72-hour, because this has been bugging me the night before, we find a satanic, if you flip the switch, flip the optics, we find a satanic ritual happening the night, into midnight even. You'll recall, as much as there is a 10-1 conflict with this case, in other words, government, people in official offices, the judge in the case had a 10-1 conflict following her around. There is something strange happening in this town. And who suffers? The children. But at least they went willingly. It can't be abduction. They went willingly. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute honor. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an amazing experience, enlightening experience. I'm going to try to keep the intuitive podcast going. But it's going to be 100% focus for 6 days a week. That's the deal. 6 days a week, 100% focus. That we are going to take this beautiful, beautiful story. We have toiled and toiled. We have fought each other. We have cried amongst each other. We laugh amongst each other. And I can tell you we can be very proud of what we have already achieved. And we're just going to take it to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been amazing. Bye for now.